first of all, thanks to everyone for joining, and thank you to Pooja ma'am for inviting me for this. And I don't know initially from where I should start, but when I started working at Medanta, it was like a completely life-changing journey for me. So being an intern at Medanta and then having job there and working under Pooja ma'am was it has outgrown me a lot. My personality has changed a lot after that. So, okay, about my background and everything, I have done my bachelor's in zoology and then I did my master's in clinical research. And after that, I did my internship at Medanta. Later on, I got job there, worked as a CRC and QA. And then I went for my PhD to South Korea in biomedical big data. But there, I was a bit, confused with my research work. Not confused exactly. I was not happy with my research work. So that made me realize that how much I'm interested in clinical trials instead of, being a part of doing some wet lab work or something like that. So from there, I came back again into clinical trials, and now I'm a part of company which is responsible for decentralized clinical trial. So the name of this company is Strider DCT, which is like a daughter company to Spring Biosolution. And this is basically like a startup. So this is the very first company in India which is going to start about decentralized clinical trials. In India, the DCD has not yet been started. I mean, though Pfizer and Syneos Health, they have started, but not in India specifically. And beside this, my job part, I'm also a PhD scholar in Galgotias University. So I've completed my 1.5 year in South Korea, working in wet lab and doing some research on zebrafish. And now I'm continuing that in clinical research at Galgotias University. So this is like my second year. And beside that, I'm doing this job here at Strider DCT. I'm working as a assistant manager, quality assurance. So my responsibility as a QA aligns with that. I have to work in making the SOPs, which are general SOPs, standard operating procedures, and SOPs which are related to decentralized clinical trial. So, I mean, I'm sure you must all be aware of what is clinical research and what are clinical trials. And since the COVID came into our life, people are much more aware of what is clinical research, what is clinical trial, how the drug comes into the market, and the picture has become a lot clearer. Earlier, people were not aware of what is clinical trial. So I won't be focusing much on the definitions or anything. I'll go straight to the decentralized clinical trial. I mean, if I can give a short term about the clinic, what clinical trials are. So testing the drugs on human participants to assess the safety and efficacy is what we do in clinical trials. So today the agenda would be I'll be covering what makes the DCT the future of clinical trials, what is decentralized clinical trial, and how we can compare DCT and traditional clinical trials. Then what is the patient journey in hybrid DCT and what tools and services we need for this? Because of course it would be much more electronic and it would be virtual, so we need lots of tools and services to be provided from CROs, from sponsors and its site and everywhere. And then what are the potential benefits that comes with the DCT, and yes, most importantly, the regulatory requirements. What are the regulatory requirements we have for DCT? And at last, because everything has pros and cons, so we'll come to the last point, that is barrier to the DCT. So I'll be going to my third slide. That is what makes the DCT the future of clinical trials. So you people might have heard that after the COVID came into our life, a lot of things have changed. I mean, if I take the minimum example is that we used to work online. I mean, we used to work at offices, but when COVID came, everything went online, be it schools, be it office work, anything. So it has changed a lot of things in your life. Same goes for the trials. Because during COVID, when COVID came, the trials which were apart from COVID trials, there were other trials also going on, like some nephrological trials, some cardiologic trials, and everything. So that time, because we were not allowed to go to the hospitals, and there was quarantine also, and there was, this everything was closed, and people were not able to go to the hospitals. They were not able to go to the sites. So that's where the part of DCT, not exactly DCT, but a part of DCT came into life. So it COVID-19 has accelerated that adoption of DCT. And after this, the people have realized that I think this is much more convenient, specifically for the patients. Because, when patient have to come for visits, like in clinical trial, what happens? They come, we have a screening, then they get randomized and consenting, and everything is done on day one. Then they have to come for several visits. On those several visits, if for example I'm a patient and I'm coming from like 300 kilometer far away from my site, then it would be difficult for me to come, on every visits, and that's how we loses our data points, which is, like the most important element of our clinical trials. Because if you don't have any credible data, if you don't have completed data points, then what result you could show? You don't have any result to show for safety, you don't have any result to show for efficacy. It's not much more credible, I would say. So that's why this DCT has made this trials more patient centric. Means we are giving importance to the patient, that whatever lies around us, it's all about the patients, their convenience, their safety, and how much comfortable they are in this environment. So according to the recent data which has been published by Global Data Pharma Intelligence Center, they said that the decentralized trials have taken a huge, you know, a huge impact nowadays. So for sure, COVID is the greatest revelation and accelerator of our time. So as you can see here in this slide I have attached, that everything is going to patient home, lab facilities, they're also going to patient home. Means here in DCD, everything we are making it available, everything for the patient, every convenient we can provide to them, be it telemedicine or teleconferencing with your PI, or providing them the drugs, or have to conduct whatever the requirements of protocols are, blood sample collection, physical examination needs to be done. So everything, it comes to the subject, they don't have to come to site. Ma'am, can I please change the slide? Thank you. So this is the basic definition for decentralized clinical trial. So decentralized clinical trial, they involve combination of innovative technologies with patient-centric design. Means we are having few technologies where we can input the data. So for example, if I'll give you what happens in traditional clinical trial is that we have to have patient at site, we'll fill up the CRF, and like EDC also, electronic data capture we'll do, and then it goes collected to the CROs or to the sponsor. But in DCT, if you're going to some remote site where it's really not accessible for other people, we have some websites. Like if I talk about my company, we have this platform provided by CleanOps. What they do is that they have this app. You can upload the data in that, whether you have internet connection or not. But once you have internet connection, it automatically uploaded. So this is how we are making things convenient. Be it whether you are in a remote area or a non-remote area, data collection is easier. So we need innovative technologies to collect data, to have samples from subjects, and to cover entire things which has been mentioned in the protocol. Because protocol compliance and SOP compliance are the major part of clinical trials. I mean, if you don't comply to the guidelines, to the regulations, then that's not ethical. So being patient centric and adding up the innovative technologies, that is what decentralized trial focuses on. Then for decentralized trials, the another important thing is the research nurses, mobile research nurses, who are responsible to go to the patient's house whenever the visit is scheduled. So for example, a visit is scheduled for today. I'm supposed to go to the patient house and collect all the data. So nurses are the most important key point, because if they miss any visit, if they do any misconduct, then again there will be issues in DCT, decentralized clinical trials. So the primary goal which we are covering in decentralized trial is to have a very flexible environment for the subject. Again, it comes to the patient-centric thing. Now, I'll tell you what is the difference between centralized and decentralized clinical trial. See, in India, not in India, actually, everywhere, initially starting a fully fledged decentralized clinical trial is a bit difficult. So instead of going directly to DCT, we go through a phase that is hybrid phase. So if you can see in the slide, there is the fully centralized clinical trials. in this, what happens, the patient have to come to the site, will conduct each and every procedure at site, whatever visits are scheduled, and whatever needs to be done as per the protocol that has to be conducted. Can you go to this previous? Thank you, ma'am. So every visit needs to be conducted at site. Patient has to come, but this converts into hybrid if because of unavoidable situations like what happened in COVID, or what could happen in a severe in rare disease. For example, a subject cannot come anyways because they have some mobility issues or some other issues. So in that case, this fully centralized clinical trial can become hybrid clinical trial. And in that hybrid clinical trial, what we can provide is we can have teleconsultation, we can send our phlebotomist to their home and collect the blood sample. But that is what we are doing in some situations. We have not adopted this. But if we move from hybrid to decentralized, then what happens is that it becomes a common practice to go to the subject house and do all the trial procedures, whatever are related or whatever are mentioned in your protocol. And if needed, then personal collection will also be done, because sometimes it happens a patient might have been experiencing some adverse event and he needs to meet this PI. So in that case, subject needs to visit site. So that again becomes the hybrid trial. Making a fully decentralized clinical trial is a bit difficult currently in India because we don't have any guidelines which mention anything about e-consent. We cannot do the consent online. I mean, PI needs to be present there. If you might have, if you have read guidelines that how informed consent procedures needs to be done. So in that, PI needs to be there. He need to explain the study and then get the consent signed first by the subject and then by the PI. Currently in India, we are not able to do that because we don't have such guidelines provided by SEDESCO or by NDCT, and not even in FD. I mean, in outer abroad, they have this procedures that they can have online conversations with the PI and they'll sign it. Digital signature would be conducted. But in India, we can't do that right now. So most probably we'll be moving forward with the hybrid part first, and then we'll go to the fully decentralized trial. Yeah, so this is the patient journey for hybrid setup. How it is done, that recruitment and screening is done through EDC, electronic data capture, or telehealth. It could be remote or in clinic. For example, for the first time, the subject comes to the site and he comes to know about a trial. So it would be in clinic, consent done, and everything would be conducted, or it could be telehealth or remote also. I mean nowadays this is very frequent after having COVID, right? You'll have just one click and you can just connect with any doctor whichever you want at whatever time you want. I mean whatever time they have given, of course. So first thing is done recruitment and screening, that then the communication goes to the patient portal. So this communication part, patient portal, SMS, and in clinic, this is provided by different vendor, or we have different kinds of software for these. Then comes the informed consent, but again e-consent, as I said so earlier, that it is not possible right now. So mostly we will be moving forward with the traditional consenting, but later on I'm sure that once we have some guidelines about this, we'll be doing e-consenting in India also. Then comes the randomization and trial supply management. Real world evidence is collected. Then comes the ePro. So in ePro, what happens is that patient data is collected, ECOA, diaries are given to them, ePro is done, so they can have the data filled by themselves. For example, if there is one trial in which what they're supposed to do is that they have to, check their, for example, blood pressure or something, and they have to check it after every like 6 hours, so they can do it by themselves. They can check it and then they can just upload the data in that app if application is provided to them, which is accessible on their phone but with limited access. You can't change them every time and like that. So there are some guidelines for that also. It's not like that there won't be any confidentiality breach, or there won't be like you can change the data. We always have the auditing track audit for that. Then the trial supply, it is also done. I mean, it will be sent directly to the patient. They don't have to come to the site again. All the requirements, be it drug, be it any, electronic e-diary or anything, they'll be sent to their home by your research nurses or your phlebotomist. I mean, whosoever is responsible for that, whosoever has been delegated for that. And then patient monitoring is done by again wearables, telehealth. You can do direct capture, EDCs, ePro, RBM, everything. And then comes the last follow up and everything, and closeout is done. So this is a very, it's not a brief discussion about anything. I'm not giving a brief discussion here, but yeah, this is the pointers which you can follow, which in hybrid DCT. Then, yeah, now there are some tools and services which are, which are heart of DCT. Like, if you don't have research nurses, it's impossible to connect with your patients. So, we need clinical research nurses. We need mobile devices and wearables. Now, these mobile devices and wearable, it could stay with the patient at their home, or maybe the nurse has to take them while they're conducting any visit there. So they'll just go, they'll fill up the data like we have in paper-based CRF, or we have in ECRFs. They'll just do that and complete all the visits, that today this is the days, these are the procedure which were supposed to be done as per that protocol. And they'll fill up all the data, and if they have the internet connection, then it will upload it directly, or later on it can be uploaded once they have internet connection. IP and study supply logistic is the major concern again, because when IP supply, then you need to ensure that temperature has been maintained and it has been gone in the good condition to the subjects. So this is also again a very important tool. For this, again, they'll have some like, if I talk about the clean ops which we are approaching, they have this app in which you can add, okay, this was the temperature at this time, it was handed over to the subject, and these are the numbers of IPs which has been delivered. So IP and study supply logistic is again important. Patient interactive portal. So the major concern in DCT is that, because patient is not coming to the site. So if anything happens, for example, if I'm enrolled in a study and there is some adverse event happen to me, for example, I have fever and I'm enrolled in a trial, then instead of going to my side, I'll go to some local doctor, or to my family doctor I'm going. In that case, patient needs to be more vigilant about these adverse event and serious adverse events and everything. So for that, a training needs to be provided to subjects also, a training, or maybe just an information during informed consent procedure, that if you have any adverse events, you are supposed to use the interactive portals. What happens in that interactive portal is that subject will add that this is the serious adverse which I was experiencing, and if it's like it's very concurrent, it's coming again and again, I mean, for like 3 days I'm having fever, so I'll have some telecommunication or something like that, or maybe I need to visit site. So these are again a very important part of DCT, patient interactive portal. Then telemedicine, of course, which is, nowadays it has become very common after COVID. Then home health coordination and management, which is again supposed to be coordinated by our research nurses. And centralized data collection, which again lies the responsibility lies with the research nurses, because in DCT the subject is not directly connected with the principal investigator. There are no people from the site who are going to the patient house. So they're solely dependent, we are solely dependent, site is also solely dependent on the research nurses. So maintaining research nurses throughout this clinical trial is very important. Their training is very important. They should be GCP trained. Their training for protocol is important. Their training for the applications which they are using for data collection, which they are using for telemedicines, or which they are using for uh, completing the CRFs, that is very important. So whatever comes and goes, it's all lies with the research nurses basically in clinical trial, DCT. Okay, so now talking about the potential benefits of DCT. See, the benefit of DCT is for both, for sponsors also and for patients also, and yeah, for sites also and CROs also. I mean, for everyone, it's somehow it's giving some benefits. So for starting with the patients, how it is beneficial for subjects is that it will fit into their daily life. For example, if I'm working somewhere, I can ask them to come and collect my blood sample from there. That today's my visit schedule. For example, today's my third visit for this follow visit. For some trial, they'll just come to my office, they'll do their physical examination or whatever is needed as per the protocol. So it fits with my life. I don't have to take time from my office and go to the site and get all everything done. It has improved safety and efficacy also. Then increase patient education and retention also, because then patient will be much more, they can also have access to their data. In traditional clinical trial, whatever data we are, I mean, we do share with the subjects, but it's not like they don't have direct access to it. But in DCT, we have this patient portal also. What they can do is they can, once they have their lab reports, they can directly go and check it by themselves, or they can go to second consultation also, if they want to. So it's very easy for them also. We are educating our patients also with DCT. They know much more about their condition, they know which visits are to be scheduled, it's convenient for them. Then for sponsor and for CRO and also for site, the patient access and there's less burden. I mean, recruitment won't be an issue, because sometimes what happens, there's a patient who comes, but he's coming from a very, far, for example, 400 or 500 kilometer, and it's impossible for him to come again and again to the site. So that is how we lose our patient. And maybe that trial is very important for him, but he might have lost to take part in that because of the distance itself. So here the recruitment is also benefiting. We have more number of recruitments, and we won't be missing many, I mean, not many, we won't be missing any follow up from the subjects also. So we have recruitment also increased. Increase data accuracy and standardization, because the data is directly going into the EDC system, and there is no, there's no paper based entry. There is no, like, once I'll do the entry here, and then if I'm doing somewhere else, sometimes it happens, in this work environment, that it changes, or maybe we are in some hurry, so there are chances we can make some mistakes or errors. So increased data and accuracy is achieved. Then there is increased speed to the trial also. We are not, it's not like we are, if I have some follow visit, I cannot come, then I can reschedule it for tomorrow, for example. So we are increasing the speed trial limit also. There's a boost communication between all the parties, because we have one unified platform. So if my nurse is adding up some data, CRO can check it, and simultaneously PI can check it. So we don't need different communication portals or anything like that. Everything has unified workflow. So this is beneficial for the patient. It's way too beneficial, because they don't have to disturb their personal life. They don't have to specifically come to the sites, which is very cumbersome process for sometimes. Because coming after every week, for example, for blood sample withdrawal, or maybe to collect the reports, or maybe to meet the PI, it's easy for the subjects specifically. Now, talking about the elephant in the room, of course, the regulatory requirements. So these are the regulatory requirements from different country and regions. India don't have any specific regulatory requirements yet, but I'm sure we'll be having some regulatory requirements sooner. So you can refer to these guidelines or resources. I've mentioned here Australian ARC, Canada Health Canada. They have web page discussing about how clinical trials can be, DCT can be conducted. What are the major elements which we need to, think of, that this could be the issue in future, or this could be a problem while conducting a DCT. Then we have from Denmark, Danish Medicine Agency, European Union EM agency. They have a web page and guidance document also. You can refer to those. Then Sweden also has, Switzerland and US FDA. They have this DCT for drugs, biological products, and devices. You can refer to these guidelines to, have a clear picture how DCT will be conducted, what are the elements, what regulated guidelines we need to follow, and how does it differ from, traditional clinical trials, and how informed consent needs to be taken. How, and even we have guidelines for, digital health technologies also, how digital health technologies could help us with that. Telemedicine and telecommunication, everything can refer for the regulatory requirements. Then the last part is, what are the barriers to DCT? Of course, we have lots of pros, lots of benefits of having DCT, but with that comes the barriers also. For example, potential amplification of inequalities. Like in some companies, what happens is some vendors, what they're doing is they do have a platform for having, data, online data capturing. But if they don't have internet connection, they won't be having a easy workflow. So that is the potential amplification of inequalities. For example, if I do belong to some, metro city, then it's fine for me. So my research nurse can come to my home or my office, but they won't be able to go to some village or some rural area. So that is the inequality. But our company, means Strider DCT, we won't be having that issue because the vendor we are having, they do have this, you know, application which works when we don't have internet connection also. Then the partial application. So there are some medical conditions, of course, in which DCT won't be applicable. For example, if we have, some neurological clinical trial, neurological related clinical trial, then of course the subject needs to come and meet the your potential your investigator, your PI. So in that condition, research nurses going to the house is difficult, because if they need to do some physical examination, or some test needs to be conducted, some diagnostic procedures needs to be conducted which are impossible to conduct at home, then the subject needs to be at site. So that is the partial application drawback which cannot be covered by DCT so far. Then quality of the data collected can be jeopardized as it takes place in a less protected settings. I mean, we need to be careful a lot about the data, because see, in clinical trials, if we don't maintain the confidentiality, then again it comes to the ethics, that the data has been either it's not confidential, or the data which has been collected, there might be some applications which do not, I mean, it's not the case that we don't follow privacy rules and HIPAA and everything. It happens, but still there are the chances that it's in a less predicted area. Because if I'm giving some tabs to the subjects who are not very well aware of the technology, then there are chances that they won't be able to handle it properly. So, for removing this barrier, the only choice is that you can train your subjects, you can well train them with the technology, that how to use it, how to log it out, how to log it in, and how they can predict their data and not to share it with other people. So, I mean, something like that could be done as per the protocol requirements. Then some clinical check may be less accurate if conducted remotely. So, for example, if a subject is coming for the very first visit at site, then the calibration, or the normal ranges for that particular setting is different, and the equipments which I'm carrying to the home, it might be different. So there are some accuracy also problem. Then risk regarding the protection of personal data, also due to the increased number of factors involved. I'm sorry, it's factors. So yeah, again, the personal data breach would be there. Then risk of weakening the physician patient relationship, that is very major again, because my PI is not going to meet the subject on every visit. It's just between the clinical research nurses, mobile research nurses, and the subject. They are going to be the mediator between PI and your subject. So the relationship could be weakening, and maybe the subject would not be more comfortable with the research nurse, because it might happen that one day, for one visit, I'm having some other research nurse, and for some other day I'm having another research nurse. So that would be a little bit of problem in this. Then a methodological bias may also arise from the combined use of clinical measurement performed in hospital or home setting, as I said so earlier. And then the GDPR and HIPAA are very important for data compliance, because everything is now technology based. You don't have anything paper based, everything is just online. So that is very important. Everyone needs to comply with all these regulations to, to ensure that patient, because in clinical trial, patient safety is the most important thing which you needs to consider. Everything comes after. Your patient is of the utmost importance. So whatever you're doing, whatever research we are doing, our importance is that patients should be more comfortable in the setting. Patients should have the rights, and their data should be, safe with us. So we should comply with all the regulations, with all the guidelines we have so far. So yeah, this was not a brief about DCT, but yeah, of course, I might have given you some insights what actually DCT is. And if you have any questions, like please feel free to ask. And these are my contact details if you want to ask about anything about clinical research, about DCT, or if I can help out with, I mean, because I had a very different journey. I've started with being PhD student also, and then I've came back to clinical trials again. And you can refer to my blog post also. So I do upload some stuff on that. You can follow that if you want to have some information. And if you want to have career in clinical research, I'll be happy to guide you guys. And yeah, that was it from me. And if you have any question, please do ask.
Yeah, Ranema, that was a very wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I really appreciate your effort uh, for making such a good presentation. It was like a complete understanding of what ECT is and something new our students have, known
Yes.
today.
Yeah,
As you said, that this is not a very, you can say, a familiar thing so far for
exactly.
everybody. So
Yes,
we are aware of clinical trials. We are aware of getting the patients, recruiting the patients to the site and doing all the
ma'am.
procedures. But
Yes,
then
ma'am.
this is a new concept wherein we are actually making it more patient centric, right?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
So that is the, yeah, though there are many hurdles to it. And of course, as you said, we are in a situation where we are working in a hybrid mode, not
Right.
totally decentralized, but we
Yeah.
are putting up a little bits of that decentralized into the centralized system so that we can move forward easily. So, and of course, the guidelines we need to have that, and that will take some time
Right.
to be ready and get us working on the total decentralized mode. So
Yes,
I will
ma'am.
request all the students to come forward for any questions. So please feel free. Anything from the presentation, anything, any aspect of clinical research, please come forward.
Yeah.
And I would also request everybody to switch on their cameras for a while so that we can have a one memorable picture.
I hope I can have a good picture because I'm not at my home. So,
It's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, this was actually hi Arunima. This is Rumi this
um,
side. I'm from Apar.
okay.
So this was actually wonderful session. I mean, very new in clinical research for me. I don't know about others, but this was absolutely fantastic session. And
I hope the
wanted to know.
student.
I mean, wanted to know like, is there any country right now who are doing completely 100% decentralized clinical trials?
Yes, ma'am. In America and in Australia, they're doing 100% DCTs because they have e-consenting and digital signature and everything. In India,
Okay,
we can't do that right now, so it's very difficult.
so for us the hurdle is like e-consenting,
Yes, ma'am.
and
I mean,
yeah,
there are two hurdles. First one is the research nurses because, training them is again a different task for us to do. We need research nurses first. They needs to be GCP trained and they needs to be, because they'll be interacting with the subjects
Mm,
and PI won't be there. So they
mm.
are the sole person who needs to give each and every information on each and every visit. So first one is our research nurses, mobile research nurses, and second, of course, the consenting. We can't do e-consenting, so it won't be a fully fledged DCT for now. But yeah, I'm sure that by
future
in
is
future
decentralized
we'll
trials.
have some guidelines for
Absolutely
that.
true, and
Yeah,
lot of chaos at site level. So this is a wonderful
exactly.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if DCT comes, it would be really good because at side I have seen it's a lot of work to do, and
absolutely
it's really difficult to actually have data. We have lots of documents to compile and everything. So if it comes with DCT,
true.
it's just one application, it's just one tab, and you have every
Correct.
information there.
Yeah.
So I'm
Absolutely.
sure that for when we were CRCs, it was a bit difficult for us, but I'm sure when other people will be doing it, then it would be easy
Be
for them.
better,
Quite
better.
easy
Yeah,
for them. Right,
Yeah.
right.
And no spaces in the hospital actually. Very difficult for CRCs to get the seat also.
Exactly.
Nice, nice. Yeah.
So, you see, we have our students right now. They are studying the clinical research course.
Mm.
All of them have joined today. So, this is so Randir, uh, Vishal, Sushmita. Please come forward with your questions. Anything you would like to ask, Randir?
I mean,
Nothing.
if there's any question, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be open to that. And if I could be of any help for you guys, I mean, like if you're looking for, I mean, any job, of course, for that also, if I can help in any ways. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
sure. We would connect to you, Arunima, because now the students who are to be placed, and I will definitely get in touch with you for that.
Sure. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, I mean,
So,
you
Actually,
guys have, this field is really, you're learning each and every day, and it's very crazy field. I mean, I love working being in a clinical research area. It's just amazing job as far I know. I don't know about other people. I hope you guys have the same thoughts on this.
yeah, surely I would like you to address the students right here and tell them a
Mhm.
little about that what is their future and how they can excel. And maybe they are like a little bit skeptical that will we get the job, and will it be interesting, will we grow, right? Such kind of questions do
Yeah.
happen to arise in their minds sometimes. So
Right, right.
that would be a little of motivation from your side if you could you know
Yes, so see, to be honest, when I started learning about clinical research, it's a very funny, I mean, very funny story for now, because there was this serial, some serial. I usually don't watch some sort of serials, but I heard about clinical research in that, and from there I thought, "Then what kind of degree is this and masters in clinical research?" So that's how I came to know about clinical trials and clinical research, and then I was like, okay, fine, if I can't go for being a NEET student doing MBBS, this is also something excited, because see, if there are no clinical trials, there are no drugs in the market, right? So you are playing a very important role in this. Until or unless there are drugs, they don't have safety and efficacy data, it won't be going in the market, and subjects would not be benefited by that. So you are playing a very important role. I mean, of course, doctors are like gods, but still you are like a mediator for them. Right. So that is how this exciting job is. And trust me, you're learning every day, because there are different therapeutics area and you would be working. You'll be aware of the guidelines, and it's not just India based, it's just all over the world. If you start working here, I mean, if you look for the opportunities, there are lots of opportunities in other countries too. So, I mean, now that you have started here, you'll be going to some other CROs or pharma companies also. So it's very exciting job, trust me. And the fields they're providing, be it QA, be it a CRA, CRC, then going to project manager. So it's a very exciting job for me. And for you people also, it would be a very learning, like if you go to some other, if you want to become a doctor, but somehow it's not possible, it didn't happen, then still you are learning about, okay, this is the drug which you are doing, you're a researcher, trust me, you are doing a great job here. And even my family, they were not earlier, they were not happy with us, like, why you are doing masters in clinical research? But now, as I have told them that this is what I do, now they do respect that. Like, okay, fine, you are doing a really great job. So yeah, it's, I mean, there would be, of course, hurdles. Earlier, always you have hurdles, but you have lots of people. You have your seniors, you have your peers. You can always ask them. You can approach them. You can approach me on LinkedIn or where you want to, and you can refer to my that channel on Blogspot. So I do upload about what are the opportunities that we have in clinical research, what is the history about clinical research, and how it is growing from traditional trials to the DCT, because DCT is like a very new thing, and I'm sure in future it would be really crazy. So being a part of a Strider DCT is like, I'm really happy. I mean, I was a bit sad about leaving my PhD from South Korea, but I'm happy also that I'm a part of company where I'm learning something new. It's not just traditional. Oh, I can see a question that study says DCT have much higher risk of protocol deviation. How can we prevent the protocol deviation in clinical research? Yeah, so protocol deviation, of course, it's a very important question. See, for avoiding such deviations and everything, training is the most important thing. Because if you're trained in the protocol training, retraining, that is the most important thing whenever it comes to this, specifically to the research nurses. As I said earlier, also, that research nurses are the heart of DCT. So training for research nurses is very important, and training, of course, on everything, be it your trial sites and be it your, training for the applications we are using. That is important. That's how we can avoid protocol deviation. And to avoid protocol deviation, second thing is training your subjects. See, in traditional clinical trial, what was happening, that which were much more focused on the site, that what site is doing, what protocol deviation there are. But now it has shifted again. It has shifted to the subjects. For example, as I said earlier, that if I have fever and I haven't updated about in my ePro, then again I'll have protocol deviation, because it might convert it into SAE. You never know that, right? So educating your subjects is also important for avoiding protocol deviation. So these are the two major things which you need to consider when you are having DCT: your subjects education, your nurses education, and of course everyone should be complied with GCP and your, protocol training, protocol specific training. Because in DCT, protocol development would also be again a question, because you need to have all the elements related to DCT in your protocols. So protocol deviation are avoided, by the app which we are using. They'll give you some alarms or some notifications that this is the visit which needs to be done. That's how we can avoid deviation. By, and if subjects has uploaded some information that this is adverse event, then nurses should be trained that she would go to the PI and she'll tell them that this is the adverse event which has been noticed. So that's how we can avoid the protocol deviations.
Any
If
other
there
question?
is any other question.
Nothing?
I think that was it.
So this is something new. See, many things are changing around. Technology, AI is coming, right? So AI is touching our clinical research, our clinical trials also.
Yes.
And then we are going the decentralized way. So the course is changing. So as a student, definitely all of you should be ready to embrace such changes. Keep
Right.
yourself updated. What is new, and
Exactly.
then and this is something which is going to open up new opportunities, right?
Right. Right.
So that is, I think, that is very important to learn something new, to be along with where the technology is or where the new opportunities are. That is very important for the students.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's
So I
all
think,
about how
yeah,
being complied with the guidelines and regulations is very
yeah,
important in clinical
yes,
research.
of course, the compliance with the guideline, that is a
Right.
must in clinical research.
Exactly.
So it's very important, and each and every student should be knowing the guidelines very well,
Exactly.
right?
And should keep
So
updated, of course, because they
keep
changes.
updated. Yeah,
Yeah.
keeping yourself updated on all the changes. So that is why it's very important to keep yourself updated with everything, which is, if a
Right.
student, if as students, all of here, or who are here, we are studying clinical research, we have to keep ourselves updated,
Right.
definitely. That is a must now. So usually when, we used to say that doctors need to study all the time, they need to keep themselves updated, but I think that is now applicable to everybody.
Right.
So we need to be updated for
Right.
good growth and opportunities. So if there are no more questions, that I think we should wind up the session. Thank you,
Yes.
Arunima. Thank you so much for being here today. And
Thank you
we
so
all
much,
had a
ma'am.
lovely time and knowing something new. And definitely, it was a very good presentation. So thank you from Apar Health and Dr. Pooja on behalf of Dr. Pooja also.
Thank you so much,
So
ma'am.
thank you so much, Arunima. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So